The Taoiseach has issued a formal state apology to survivors of abuse by serial paedophile Bill Keneally, acknowledging profound institutional failures. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Brief. Today is Wednesday, 15th July 2026. I'm Neil, and in the next few minutes, I'll take you through the news that matters at home in Ireland, then across to Britain, and out into the wider world. Everything you need to know before the day begins. Ireland. Let's begin here at home in Ireland. This morning, Taoiseach Micheál Martin has issued a formal state apology to survivors of abuse by Bill Keneally, expressing that he is profoundly sorry for the failures by former Fianna Fáil members in handling the case. The Ceann Comhairle welcomes survivors to Leinster House in recognition of their experience and their long fight for accountability. This is a significant moment for those survivors seeking justice and recognition of the institutional failures that allowed their suffering to continue for so long. Child protection agency TUSLA has reported record referral numbers exceeding 100,000 for the first time, with emotional abuse now accounting for 45% of all reports. The agency is flagging unprecedented strain on Ireland's child welfare system at a moment when demand has never been higher. Here at home, that means families with vulnerable children are facing longer waits for support, and frontline child protection workers are under mounting pressure at a time when cases are becoming more complex. Temperatures could reach 30 degrees today and through to Friday, as Met Éireann has issued a yellow high temperature warning for most of Ireland. Water restrictions are now in place due to drought conditions, with no rain forecast in the coming days. For anyone in Dublin, Cork or Galway, the practical impact is immediate. Water usage will need to be carefully managed in your homes and businesses. Outdoor activities will be limited by the heat, and vulnerable people, particularly the elderly, will need extra care and attention during what will be an unusually hot spell. Nurses and university lecturers are set to ballot for industrial action after the government allowed a recent public sector pay agreement to expire without a replacement process. The Irish Federation of University Teachers Union says the situation is untenable for workers who have seen their real wages stagnate while living costs continue to climb. For Ireland, this matters because industrial action in the health service and third level education would directly affect hospital care, GP visits, and the education of thousands of students during what could be a critical year for strike action across the public sector. UK. Now, across the Irish Sea to the UK, MPs have approved the Hillsborough Law in Sir Keir Starmer's final days as Prime Minister, with incoming PM Andy Burnham calling it a major step towards securing accountability and a significant power shift from the state to the people. The legislation represents a landmark moment in victims' rights and institutional transparency. This matters to Ireland because the Hillsborough disaster involved Irish victims. The law sets a precedent for state accountability that may influence how Irish inquiries into institutional failures are handled in future. And it signals a new UK government's commitment to transparency and justice for survivors. A damning UK COVID inquiry report has found that the Boris Johnson government wasted £10 billion on personal protective equipment, with particular criticism of the VIP lane that prioritised contracts for companies with Conservative Party connections. The findings raise serious questions about government procurement practices during a national crisis. Closer to home, this demonstrates institutional accountability failures during a pandemic that affected both Ireland and the UK, and highlights systemic issues in cross-border health cooperation during emergencies that both governments will need to address in future crisis planning. The UK Treasury has introduced new regulations for buy now, pay later lenders, requiring authorisation to operate and providing consumers with stronger protections, including refunds and rejection rights. The framework is designed to give shoppers a fairer deal in a market that has grown significantly in recent years. And the Irish angle. Irish consumers using UK-based BNPL services will benefit from these stronger protections, and Irish retailers selling to UK customers will operate under these same rules, affecting cross-border e-commerce and consumer confidence on both sides of the Irish Sea. Annual State of the UK Climate Analysis has found that the last 4 years in the UK are in the top 5 hottest on record, with climatic extremes becoming increasingly normal. Scientists warn of more volatile weather patterns linked to a changing Atlantic system. Why does this matter on this side of the Irish Sea? Because Ireland and the UK share Atlantic weather systems, UK climate shifts directly affect Irish weather patterns, agriculture, and coastal safety, which is particularly relevant given the water restrictions and heat warnings already in place here at home. World. And finally, out into the wider world. Tensions between the US and Iran have intensified over control of the Strait of Hormuz, a critical international shipping channel. Trump has threatened to strike Iranian power plants and bridges as ceasefire negotiations stall, with the conflict now lasting over 4 months and showing no signs of resolution. For Ireland, this matters because the Strait of Hormuz is vital to global oil supplies and shipping routes. Any disruption directly affects Irish fuel prices, transport costs, and EU energy security. Ireland's trade with the Middle East and Asia depends on safe passage through this waterway, and prolonged tensions could drive energy costs higher across the island. A Ryanair passenger was nearly sucked head-first out of a cabin window during flight, with the man seriously injured and in shock. The incident raises urgent safety concerns for the Dublin-based airline's operations and has prompted immediate investigations into how such an incident could occur. Ryanair is an Irish airline headquartered in Dublin and operates millions of flights annually for Irish travellers, and any safety incident of this magnitude affects the airline's reputation, operations, and the confidence of passengers who depend on its services. Firefighters are battling a major forest fire near Paris in France, with 2 arrests made in connection with the blaze. 7 British nationals are among those killed in related Spanish wildfires across the wider region, highlighting the scale of the environmental crisis unfolding across southern Europe. Large-scale wildfires in Europe signal climate patterns and extreme weather that can affect Ireland's own environmental outlook, and such incidents also test EU emergency response systems that Ireland participates in and may need to rely on. A US-Russia sanctions bill has eased previous threats of tariffs on China and India, while separately, Nvidia has begun shipping powerful H200 AI chips to China. The moves signal shifting US trade policy amid geopolitical tensions between the world's largest economies. Why does this matter on this side of the Irish Sea? Because major US tech companies like Apple, Google, and Intel have significant operations and manufacturing links in Ireland, and changes to US semiconductor export policy directly affect the global tech supply chain that Irish workers and the Irish economy depend on. A lot moving this morning. Tensions abroad over shipping and trade, heat and water restrictions at home, and growing pressure on Ireland's public services and workers. And that's the morning brief for today. Whatever the day brings, take it steady. I'm Neil. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, look after yourself.